Hello everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm here to show you how to make this shawl. Now I did make mine smaller for tutorial purposes so I could move on to the next tutorial. Now you feel free to make this shawl as big as you want. I will give you the measurement of mine, but mine is more cowl size than it is shawl size, but it's very, very pretty. Now it does have a 9-row repeat on it. Now don't be intimidated by that 9-row repeat because the repeat is rather easy. I think it turned out very nice. So like I said, mine's not extremely huge like shawl size, but maybe cowl size. I could wear mine. But man, imagine if you kept going on this, and I think I'll tell you the measurements of mine, but if you made it a lot bigger than this, just think how pretty that would be. It is a very pretty shawl, and I don't think it's extremely hard to do. I'll go over the stitches with you here in just a minute, but hopefully you guys will be able to follow along. It turned out really pretty. I think so anyways. So you guys want to do it? You want to learn how to do it? Don't leave because of that 9-row repeat. I promise. It's not hard. It's not hard. I'll show you how to do it, okay? Bagoday always shows you the way, because that's what I do. I'm a teacher. So let's do it. Let me teach you how to make this shawl. Alright, I'm going to give you a little bit a close look of the shawl itself there. Of the stitches that are used. We got chain, single, doubles, double crochet 2 together. We got puff stitches. This is an intermediate pattern. Beginners, by all means, please try it out. I always hope that I can teach well enough that even someone that knows the basic stitches, such as a beginner, can still do what I'm showing. So here is the curved top. Remember, when yours starts to look like that, it is normal for it to be like that. I think it's pretty neat looking myself, so that's why I left it like that. All right, so I'll give you a quick measure of mine. Remember, mine's small, so mine measures about 37 inches across the top, and from the point down at the bottom to the center up here is about 25 inches. So it is a little bit on the smaller side. I think most generally shawls, average about 50 to 60 inches across the top, but like I said, a couple more repeat rows and you'd be good to go on this one. Okay, I'm going to set this to the side and I'll show you what I used. Okay, for this project, I used Rowan felted tweed. Now, I did get this at Hobium. You do not have to use this yarn. This yarn is a lightweight number 3. So you can use any lightweight number 3 that you wish. And even a 4-weight yarn would work also. Let's see here. I can tell you what it's made of in case you are interested, if I can find it. It's 50% wool, 25 alpaca, and 25 viscose. Now, for the size that I did, I used two whole balls of this, and there are 191 yards per ball. I used 2 to get my size. So, if you want to make it bigger, you're probably going to need 800, depending on how big you want it. Maybe 1,000 yards of a lightweight 3. It just depends on how large of a shawl that you want. But if you want it my size, close to 400. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on it. I used a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. Okay, so first we're going to start off with a slip knot on our hook. And now we are going to work a chain 3. And we're going to slip stitch into the first chain to form a ring. That. And now we're going to chain 1. Now that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. We're going to be working back into the center of the ring, and we're going to work 4 double crochets through the center of the ring. So we go right through that ring and draw up a loop, and then we go ahead and do our double crochet as normal, and we want to do that 4 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I'm going to do a chain of 2. I'm going to go back into the same ring here, and I'm going to do 4 more double crochets. Just like that. So that'll end round 1. And you'll have a total of 8 double crochets. This chain 2 space here is the point of the shawl. So we'll go ahead and we'll start round 2, or row 2, I apologize, with a chain 1, and then we're going to turn our work. Now every row is always started the same, and it's always ended the same, no matter what row that you're on. So we start off by putting 2 double crochets into this very first stitch. So there's 1, and there's 2. Now we're going to put 1 double crochet into the next 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Now we're at our chain 2 space, the point of our shawl, and it is always worked the same no matter what row that you're on. We always work into the chain 2 space, 2 double crochets. So there's 1, and there's 2, a chain of 2, and then 2 more double crochets back into the same space. Just like that. Now we're going to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. And we have 1 stitch left. Now the last stitch is always the same, just like it is the first. No matter what row you're on, the last stitch will always get 2 double crochets into the last stitch. And that will end row 2. And you should have a total of 14 stitches now at the end of row 2. Okay, so now we're going to start row 3, and we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to start row 3 just like we start every row. We're going to put 2 double crochets into the very first stitch. So there's 1 and 2. And now we are going to work a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. We are going to skip 1 stitch, and we're going to single crochet into the next. And we're going to work a chain of 3 again. We're going to skip 1 stitch and single into the next. One more time, we're going to chain 3. We're going to skip 1 stitch and single crochet into the next, which will be the last stitch of this row. And now we're at our chain space, and we work the chain space, the point of the shawl, the same as we always do. Into the chain space, we're going to work 2 double crochets. A chain of 2, and then 2 more double crochets. That hair that you see in the yarn is the alpaca of the yarn. I don't want you to think that it's cat hair or anything. It is alpaca yarn that I'm using. So that's like that. Now we want to make this side match this side. So we ended in a single crochet here. So we're going to start over here with a single crochet. So we're going to single crochet into that very first stitch. And then we're going to chain 3. Skip 1 and single into the next. Chain 3. Skip 1 and single into the next. Chain 3. Skip 1. You have 2 stitches left, so you're going to skip 1, and in the last stitch we're going to do it like we do every row. We're going to end by putting 2 double crochets into the last stitch. So you got that chain 3 on your hook, go into that last stitch and work 2 double crochets, and that will end round or row 3, and you'll have 6 of the chain 3 spaces, and then you'll have the chain 2 space of the point like that. So row 4 starts the repeat. So it's a 9-row repeat. So rows 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 are the repeat rows. But like I said, don't be intimidated because they're not really that hard of repeats. You might have to you can jot it down as you go, or you can rewind me. But here we go. We're going to start the repeat rows. So we're going to chain 1, row 4, and turn our work. Now we start the same way as we always start. 2 double crochets into that very first stitch. So there's 1 and 2. Now what we're going to do is work some puff stitches, or some bean stitches, I guess. So we're going to skip this double crochet here, and we're going to work into this chain space. What we're going to do is yarn over, go into the chain space, and draw up a loop. We want to do that 3 times. That counts as number 1. So again, we're going to yarn over, go into the same chain space, draw up a loop. That's 2 times. One more time. Yarn over, go into the same chain space, draw up a loop 3 times. And you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 7. And then we're going to work a chain of 2. And we're going to go back into the same chain space, and we're going to work that puff stitch again. So we're going to yarn over, go into the same chain space, draw up a loop. We want to do that 3 times. So that's 1, again, 2, and 3. 7 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through all 7, and chain 1. So what you did there was a puffed V-stitch. And now we're going to work a puff V-stitch into every chain 3 space until we get to the point of our shawl. So I'm just going to jump to the next chain 3 space, and I'm going to work this again. So I'm going to yarn over and work my first puff. Seven loops, yarn over and go through all 7. Work a chain of 2. You can slide it over a bit if you need to. Go into the same space and work another puff. Seven loops, yarn over, go through all 7, and chain 1. So there you worked another puffed V-stitch into that space. Now I only have 1 more chain space on this round, but as your shawl grows, you'll have more chain spaces, which means more puff V-stitches. But I'll go ahead and finish this last one out. I'm going to do a puff V-stitch here into this last chain space. chain 2, do another puff, and then chain 1. Now when you look, you're going to have 3 stitches that remain, a single and 2 doubles. We want to skip that single crochet, and into the next double we're going to work a puff V-stitch right into that double crochet. So I'm going to go right into it, and I'm going to work a puff V-stitch just like I did into the chain spaces. Chain 2 and another puff, like that, chain 1. Now I have that 1 double crochet there left. I'm just going to skip that double crochet, and I'm going to work directly into the chain 2 space of the point of the shawl and work my 2 double crochets. A chain of 2 and 2 more double crochets. Now I'm going to repeat over here what I did on this side. So I skipped that first double crochet here, or this last double crochet here on this side. So I'm going to skip the first one here, and then the next one I will work a puff V-stitch. So skip that first double, and the next one, puff V-stitch. Just like that, chain 1, and now we're going to put a puff V-stitch into each chain 3 space until you make it to the end of the row. So I'm just going to continue doing that, putting a puff V-stitch in each chain space until I make it to the end of my row. All right, I'm coming to the end. I just did my last puff V-stitch here. Make sure I chain 1 after my last puff. Now what I'm going to do is I have my 2 stitches left. I'm going to skip 1, and I'm going to put 2 double crochets there into my last stitch, and that'll end row 4. And on row 4 you will have 8 puffed V-stitches at the end of row 4. Now we're going to start row 5. So we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And as always, we're going to work 2 double crochets into that very first stitch. Now row 5 is similar to row 4. We're going to be working puff V-stitches again. Now we're going to skip this first double crochet, and we're going to be working into the chain 2 spaces of the puff V-stitches. And we are going to work a puffed V-stitch in the chain 2 space of every puff V-stitch until we get down here to the end of the row here, or down to the point of the shawl. So we just go into this chain 2 space here of the puff V-stitch from the previous row and work another puff V-stitch. Like that, just like that. Now I'm going to jump to the next one, next puff V-stitch from the previous row, and in that chain 2 space I'm going to work another puff V-stitch. So I'm just going to work a puff V-stitch in the chain 2 space of every puff V-stitch until I get down here to the point of my shawl. Okay, I've come here to the end, and as you can see, I have 2 stitches left. I want to go ahead and put a puff V stitch into the first double crochet here of the 2. That, and now I'm going to skip that last double crochet, and in this chain 2 space I'm going to work what we always work in the chain 2 space: 2 doubles, a chain of 2, and 2 doubles. Just like that. Now remember, we want the opposites. You want this side to match this side, so we're gonna start this side the same way we ended this side. So we skipped this. We're gonna skip this first double crochet here, and in the next one we will do a puffed V stitch. That way both sides match. That's what we want. Matching sides. Otherwise you're gonna have a crooked shawl. Nobody wants that, but it happens. Okay, now we're going to continue working 1 puffed V stitch in the chain space of every puff V stitch from the previous row until we get up here to the end of the row. So I'll just jump over here to my this puff V stitch from the previous row, and just like before in the chain space, I'll work another puffed V stitch. So I will continue doing this until I get up here to the end of the row. Just like that. Okay, I've come to the end here, and I just put a puff V stitch into my last puff V stitch. Make sure you chain 1 there after that last puff to lock it. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to jump to the I'm going to skip this double crochet here, and I'm going to jump to the very last double crochet. What am I going to do? I'm going to put 2 double crochets in it, just like you always end it with 2 doubles. And that'll end row 5, and now you should have 10 puffed V stitches now at the end of row 5. All right, let's start row 6. Row 6 is an easy row. We're going to chain 1 and turn 2 doubles into that very first stitch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to work a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to single crochet into the chain 2 space of the next puff V stitch. And then we will chain 3 again. And again, single crochet into the chain space of the next puff V stitch. And we will continue this pattern until we get to down here to the point of our shawl. So it's chain 3, single crochet into the chain space of the next puff V stitch, chain 3, single crochet into the chain space of the next puff V stitch, and continue this until we get to the end. Remember, as your shawl grows, you'll have more chain spaces. I'm almost to the end here. Okay, once you make it to where there are no more puff V stitches, go ahead and chain 3. You'll have 2 stitches left. Skip 1 and single crochet into the last one, like that. And then we're going to go ahead and do what we always do into the point of our shawl, is our 2 double crochets, our chain 2, and 2 more doubles. Now remember, we need to make both sides match. So we ended with a single crochet into the last stitch here. So we're going to start by putting a single crochet in the first stitch on this side. And then we'll chain 3. Skip that double crochet and a single crochet into the chain 2 space of the next puff V stitch. Again, chain 3. single crochet into the chain 2 space of the next puff V-stitch, and we're going to continue this pattern until we get to the end of the row. Alright, I have just single crocheted into my chain space of my last puff V-stitch. I'm going to do a chain 3. These last 2 stitches here, I'm going to skip 1 and 2 doubles into the last stitch. And that'll end row 6. And you'll have a total of 12 chain 3 spaces, and then of course you'll have your chain 2 space here at the bottom of the point. Okay, let's start row 7. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now we're going to do some double crochet 2 together V-stitches. That sounds intimidating, but it's not really. So we're going to start off by putting 2 double crochets into our very first stitch. So there's 1 and 2. Now let's go ahead and skip that next double crochet, and we're going to be working into the chain 3 spaces that we made on the prior row. So into this chain 3 space, we're going to work a double crochet 2 together V-stitch. So what we're going to do is yarn over, go into the chain space, draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. You want to do that 2 times. So that was once. Again, yarn over, go into that same chain space, draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. So that's 2 times. You'll have 3 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 3. So that was 1 double crochet 2 together. Now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to do it again in the same chain space. So we yarn over, go into the same chain space, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. Again, yarn over, go into the same chain space, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. 3 loops remain, yarn over and go through all 3. And there you go. There you got a double crochet 2 together V-stitch. Now that's what I call it. And that's what we're going to work in every chain 3 space until we get to the point of our shawl. So I'm just going to jump. I'm not going to chain 1 or anything. I'm just going to jump to my next chain 3 space here and work another one of these double crochet 2 together V-stitches. So again, I'll show you again. We're going to yarn over, go into the next chain 3 space and draw up a loop. Yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. You want to do that 2 times. So that was number 1. Again, yarn over, go through the same chain space, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. 3 loops remain, yarn over and go through all 3, chain 2, and we're going to do the double crochet 2 together again. So we're going to yarn over and go through the same chain space, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. One more time, yarn over, go through the same chain space, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2. 3 loops remain, yarn over and go through all 3 loops. And there you have done it again, just like that. So I'm going to work my double crochet 2 together V-stitch into every chain 3 space until I make it down here to my last chain 3 space, and that's where I'll meet up with you. Alright, I've made it down here. I just did my last double crochet 2 together V-stitch, and I have 3 stitches left. So I have a single and 2 doubles. So I'm going to skip that single, and in the next double I'm going to work a double crochet 2 together V-stitch into that double crochet. Just like that. I'm going to skip that last double crochet, and in the chain 2 space, you know what we got to do. 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 doubles. just like we always do, into the chain 2 space. It's like that. Now we want to remember, we want to make both sides match, so we have to do the same thing on both sides. So over here we skipped that last double crochet and we did a double crochet, 2 together V-stitch in the one before it. So here we are going to skip the first double crochet and work into the next one, and we're going to work a double crochet 2 together into that stitch. So skip that double and into the next one. Just like this. And now we're going to move on and we're going to work a double crochet 2 together V-stitch into every chain 3 space, just like we did on the other side, until we get down here to our last chain 3 space. So I'm going to continue doing that just the same as we did on the other side. Double crochet 2 together V into every chain 3 space until we get here to the end, and that's where I'll meet back up with you at the end. Just like that. All right, I've come to the end. I just did my last double crochet 2 together V-stitch. That's a long one to say, into my last chain 3 space. So what I'm going to do is, there's 2 stitches left. I'm going to skip one, and then the last one I'm going to put 2 double crochets into it, just like that. And I'll end row 7, and now you'll have a total of 14 double crochet, 14 of those V-stitches. Double crochet 2 together V-stitches is what you'll have. There we go. Okay, now let's start row 8. We're going to chain 1 and turn. It's going to be similar to what we just did. A little different, but still similar. Start off, as always, 2 double crochets into the very first stitch. Okay, we're going to skip these this double crochet here, and we're going to work into the chain space of the first double crochet 2 together, and we're going to work a double crochet 2 together into that chain space. So we're going to yarn over and go into that chain space of the previous double crochet 2 together V-stitch. Go ahead and work another double crochet 2 together V-stitch into that spot. Just like that. And that's what we're going to do now for round 8, or row 8. We're going to work a double crochet 2 together V-stitch in the chain 2 space of the previous ones, the ones from the previous row, all the way down until we get to the last stitches before the point. So again, remember, do not chain 1 after it. You just yarn over and go into the chain 2 space of the next one and work it again. Double crochet 2 together V-stitch. Just like that. So they kind of line up. So I'm going to continue working one of those in the chain 2 space of every single one until I get down here to the end, and I'll meet back up with you right down here. All right, I've just done my last one there, and I have 2 stitches that remain. I'm going to go ahead and in this very first double crochet of the last 2, I'm going to do a double crochet 2 together V-stitch right here in this second to last double crochet. I'm going to skip that last double crochet, and then in the chain 2 space, you know what we do. You know 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 doubles. Like that. Now we're going to make the other side match the side that we just did. So we'll skip the first double crochet, and in the next double crochet we're going to work a double crochet, 2 together V-stitch, just like we did on the other side. Like that. And now we're going to work our double crochet, 2 together V-stitch into every one of these chain 2 spaces from the V-stitches from the previous row, just like we did on the other side, until we get to the last one. So remember, we always just want to make both sides match. So we're doing the same thing on this side as we did on the other side. Just like that. So I'm going to continue working my double crochet together V-stitches all the way until I get to my last one. Alright, I'm coming to the end of row 8, and I just did my last V-stitch there, and I have these 2 stitches left here. I'm just going to skip one. I'm going to put 2 double crochets into the last one, and that'll end row 8, and you'll have a total of 16 of these double crochet 2 together V stitches. Now your top, you'll notice, will start to get wavy. Now remember, it's supposed to do that. It's going to wave up and down your entire project, like I showed you on my shawl. That's normal. It's going to do that. Okay, so we're going to start row 9. Now, rows 9, 10, 11, and 12, the last 4 rows of the repeat, are really easy. They're just chain space rows. So what we're going to do for row 9, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn our work. And we're going to work 2 double crochets into the very first stitch, as always. Just as always. And we are going to start by chaining 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do a single crochet into the chain 2 space of this double crochet 2 together V-stitch, and then we will chain 3, and again single crochet into the next chain 2 space, and we're going to repeat this until we get to the end or the point of the poncho. Chain 3, single crochet into the next chain 2 space, chain 3, single crochet into the next chain 2 space. I'm just going to continue, and you want to just keep doing that until you get down here to your last 2 stitches. Chain 3, single, chain 3, single into the chain space, chain 3, and single, chain 3, and single. I have made it to the end here, and here's my point of my shawl. What I want to do is chain 3, skip this double crochet, and single crochet into the last one, like that. And then I'm going to work in my chain 2 space. I'm going to work 2 doubles, a chain of 2, and 2 more doubles, just like always. Now I want the other side to match the side that we just did, so we're going to start out with a single crochet into the first stitch on this side, chain 3, and we skip that double crochet and single crochet into the next chain 2 space, chain 3, single crochet into the next chain 2 space, chain 3, single crochet into the next chain 2 space, and we're going to continue this until we get up to the end, up to the last stitches. I'm coming up here to the end. Okay, I just single crocheted in my last V-stitch here. What I want to do is chain 3, and then there's 2 double crochets left. I'm going to skip 1, and I want to put 2 double crochets into the last one. That'll end around or row 9, and you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 18 chain 3 spaces. Now 9 on both sides. So let's start row 10. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now we are going to double crochet 2 times into the very first stitch. Skip this first double crochet, chain 3. Yeah, and skip that double crochet and single crochet into the chain 3 space. Chain 3, single crochet into the chain 3 space. Chain 3, single crochet into the chain 3 space. And we want to do this until we get down to our last stitches here before the point. I'm just going to continue working a chain 3 and single crocheting into the next chain 3 space until I get to the bottom here. I'll do it quickly. All right, I'm coming here to the end. Okay, I just single crocheted into my last chain 3 space. What I want to do now is chain 3, and I'm going to skip that single crochet, and I'm going to single crochet into the next double, like that. Now I'm going to skip this double crochet. I'm going to go right into the chain space and work 2 double crochets, a chain of 2, and 2 more double crochets, just like that. Now I want to make the other side match, so I'm going to start off the other side by skipping the first double crochet and single crocheting into the next, like that. Now I'm going to work a chain of 3 and single crochet into the next chain 3 space. Chain 3, single crochet into the next chain 3 space, and I'm going to continue this until I get up to my last 2 stitches. Okay, I'm coming to the end of row 10. I single crocheted into my last chain 3 space. I have 2 stitches left, so I'm going to do a chain of 3, and then I'm going to end by putting 2 double crochets into the last stitch. Now you'll have a total of 20 chain spaces at the end of round 10. Round 11, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and start off by 2 double crochets into the same stitch. And then we chain 3 and single crochet into the first chain space. Chain 3, single crochet into the next chain space. Chain 3, single crochet into the next chain space, and we're going to repeat this. Chain 3, single crochet into the next chain space until we get down to the end, till we get to our last stitches down there. So I'm going to continue this until I get down here at the bottom. I'll meet you down there. Alright, I just single crocheted in my last chain 3 space. I chained 3. I have a single and 2 doubles left. I'm going to skip that single crochet into the next double, skip the last double crochet, and in the chain 2 space I'm going to work 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 doubles. So this row is just a repeat of the last row that we did. Same thing. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to skip that first double crochet and single into the next, chain 3, and you'll see there's a single crochet. We don't do anything with that. We just go right into the chain space and single crochet, chain 3 in the chain space and single crochet, chain 3, next chain space and single crochet. Repeat this pattern until you get up here to the top to your last 2 stitches. Alright, I'm coming to the end of row 11. I did a single crochet into my last chain 3 space. I chained 3, got my 2 stitches left. I'm going to go ahead and put 2 double crochets into my very last stitch, and now you'll have a total of 22 chain 3 spaces. All right, last repeat row, row 12. We're going to chain 1, and we're just going to repeat what we just did on row 11. So we are going to 2 doubles into the very first stitch, chain 3, and skip that double, and single crochet into the chain 3 space, chain 3, single crochet into the next chain 3 space, chain 3, single crochet into the next chain 3 space. We're going to repeat this until we get down to the point of our shawl. Alright, I've made it down here to the point. I put a single crochet in my last chain 3 space. I chained 3, and again we have 3 stitches here. We have a single crochet and 2 doubles. We skip that single crochet and we single crochet into the next double. We're doing what we did on the last 2 rounds, or the last 2 rows. Skip this last double crochet, and in the chain 2 space we work 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 doubles, just like that. Now we want to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to skip this first double crochet and single into the next, chain 3, and then we start. Remember, we don't do anything with that single crochet into the chain 3 space, chain 3, single into the next chain 3 space, chain 3, and into the next chain 3 space and chain 3, and we're going to repeat this until we get up to our last 2 stitches of the row. Alright, I'm coming to the end of row 12. Single crochet there in my last chain 3 space. I chain 3. I'm going to end with 2 double crochets into my last stitch, and now you'll have a total of 24 chain 3 spaces. Now remember, now it's repeatings and repeatings. So we want to repeat, remember, rows 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So 9 row repeats. So we're going to start again. When we start row 13, we'll start with the puff V-stitch rows, and then we'll just continue from there. That's it. And remember, the wave at the top is completely normal. It's going to wave up and down, up and down. Nothing wrong. If it looks like that, you're doing nothing wrong. It's supposed to do that. Now, you want to repeat those rows until you get to your desired length, however big you want to make it. So what I like to do, once you get it as big as you want to make it, you got to kind of pull and stretch them chain space rows out just a bit, because they kind of get clumped up, or that's what I do anyways. And then they stretch out a bit, and it makes them look a little bit more, or you can see them a little bit more, or you can always block your work. I don't block my work. Some people ask, but I don't. If you want to, at the end, I ended in chain space rows, But at the end, if you want to maybe do like a shell border or something, that would be really pretty. That'd be neat. Or just simply single crochet along the edges to straighten it out. You know, you could do picots or any type of border you wanted. I just chose to leave it at shells or chain spaces. But you know, if you want feeling creative and you want to put a cool border on it, I'd like to see it. So I hope you were able to follow along with this video. Okay, I tried to do my best to teach. Remember, the waves, normal. The bigger your shawl gets, it's just going to keep waving. I can't wait to see some pictures of this on my Facebook page. Remember, if you make this, don't forget to post a picture on my Facebook page. You can tag me on Instagram if you follow me on Instagram. There's links to my Facebook pages and Instagram below. I encourage you to follow along with me so you can see what I'm up to on both pages if you can. And yeah, like I said, I can't wait to see what you guys come up with as far as the yarn you use, the color you choose, and maybe what kind of border you use or how big you make it. Pretty excited to see it. So thanks everybody for watching. Hey, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos. I got hundreds of tutorials. If you look over there on the right hand side, I'm going to put a playlist of all my videos. I do unboxings, yarn hauls, yarn reviews, and there's hundreds of tutorials there. So check it out if you got a minute. Thanks everybody for watching. Bye bye.